Lovely.
Yeah.
So this afternoon's conversation, and I'm saying conversation, will be surrounding stress management and parenting. Um, for the persons who are parents or guardians, because I am mindful of individuals who may not have birthed children or but are still responsible for wards that parenting, there is no manual. Um, the role of parenting, regardless of if you come from a big family or only child, you have siblings, it does not matter. Your children are unique to you. Your parenting experiences are unique to you. So there is no set manual per se, but there are ways that we can guide and help assist persons through the parenting experience. And for some context, I'm not just speaking as a psychologist, I'm speaking as a parent. I am the father of three children. I have a 13-year-old who's in secondary school. I have a 8-year-old son who's in standard two, and a 6-year-old daughter who's in first year. So I navigating when it comes to parenting, um, different, not just different personalities, but different age groups. So whilst I am a parent of three, I feel sometimes I have to have three different personalities in navigating their personalities because you can't parent each child the same way because they're not the same child. And through that comes stress management within the parenting process. So let's jump right into that. Please feel free to raise your hands. I'll be monitoring the chat as well if there are any questions. Um, so whilst we might be asking questions throughout, I would hold a little segment after where we have a conversation once time permits. Uh, so what will you learn in this topic today? The things that we want to cover is understanding stress and parenting, how parental stress affects children, practical stress management tools for parents, managing conflicts and emotional moments at home, when stress becomes too much, and then closing and takeaway message. So this is our conversation today. So first up would be understanding stress and parenting. And when we look at this, the first question really is, what is stress? And generally, stress is understood to be the the body's natural response to strain, to a demand or a challenge. It's a physical, emotional, it's a psychological reaction. And when we think about a demand, anything can constitute stress once it creates a challenge for us. Once we feel as if something is going to create a loss for us, or as it says, a demand, is it demanding of us physically? So, quick example, the stress of having to tote a gas tank in the gas station, that might create some physical stress on the body. Some emotional stress might be having to navigate loss, navigate receiving some sort of news that is upsetting. So, stress tells our body that we are experiencing something. We're experiencing a difficult situation or potentially difficult situation that will create a demand or a challenge. And as it says here, it triggers our fight or flight response and I'll also indicate our freeze response. How does it
Right.
do that? Because what it creates, that demand, it tells us that we are, be mindful of our mics, please, ladies and gentlemen. What it does for us, it creates that demand. And in creating that demand, we might want to react. So our heart starts to beat fast. We might start to sweat. We might feel a pounding in our chest. We are breathing heavily. And all that is our stress response. We start to think some thoughts. We might be thinking on the situation. We might be thinking, what do I do? The adrenaline starts to build. And I wouldn't go too heavily on the physiology of it. That's a later conversation we can have. But that is what our stress response has. We become agitated, we become excited. So we might feel it in our hands. We might want to fight through a situation. We might feel it in our feet. We may want to flee. So our stress response triggers that physiological response in our body. We may also freeze because sometimes we are so we our nervous system is so hit by the impact of the experience that we don't know how to feel. We can't process those feelings. So sometimes we may feel numb. Yes, we may feel headaches, we may feel back pain. And that is so when we look at the onset or the repercussions of prolonged stress, we will find that we may then engage in behavior that, or we might feel some physiological reaction. Because mind you, stress isn't bad. Our stress response isn't bad because our stress response helps us to act in high demanding situations. But here's where the problem comes in: prolonged stress. So when our sympathetic nervous system, and just giving a little physiology here, our body, our autonomic nervous system impacts on how we respond to things. So you see your ability, if you touch your chest right now, do you not feel your heart beating? As you sit there, do you not feel, if you're holding to your chest, do you not feel the rise and fall of your chest? Do you control your breathing? Do you control the beating of your heart as it's pumping oxygenated blood throughout your body and then cycling that deoxygenated blood so that it could go get or receive oxygen from the air that we're now taking in? Our sweating, the fact that our our muscles are taking in energy. All of those things are automatic. We don't have to take conscious thought, because imagine you have to be telling yourself, "Ooh, I have to pay my flow bill today, but I have to remember to take a deep breath. Ooh, I also have to remember to send oxygen to my brain. Shucks, I have to remember to take." Bops, you're dead. You're dead. Because the time and the speed that your body needs to respond and react to ensure that it is doing what it needs to do for you to survive, you're dead. So that is why those processes have to be automatic. And within those automatic functions is your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And again, your sympathetic nervous system is where your stress response lies. It is where your body starts to do things, as I was mentioning before. Now, some common stresses that we deal, just hold 1 second for me, please. Parenting never stops. Yes. So, some things that stress us as parents: finances, where the money coming from. I think that is a universal thing that concerns us. We study in Christmas, we study in the Java, the July-August vacation, we're studying new school term, we're studying how are we going to do it. We may have a child that has special needs. We may have a kid that needs extra assistance for lessons, for classes. We may have a kid that needs we might have a kid that every fortnight is a new school shoes because for some whatever reason the foot does eat that school shoes. We may have a kid every term is a new shirt, especially them that cream shirt. Woo! Now the every week the school is trying to raise the funds is not it's to make our kids comfortable. I will always say I walked into Rosary Boys with a refurnished washroom where the bathroom was the bathroom was changed. And I understand with a public school how financing isn't always forthcoming. So we the parents aren't just contributing to the present but to the future children who would enter. And I would want to be proud, and I'm just responding to a message in the chat. I would want to say that what is a legacy that I am teaching my children for their alma mater? What am I helping to contribute? So, yeah, a caveat to a public school is raising funds because that's how the school gets the extra to give our kids that extra. It's hard, yes, but and I will say this, being on the PTA, it's not even contributing funds, but also contributing time. So you might just be on the end as a parent getting the message to contribute $100 or $50 or a fundraiser. But sometimes the PTA, we're doing it out of pocket and supporting. So something to note. But yes, it is a financial strain. The school demands. And then there are behavioral issues that we may have to deal with, challenges we face with our kids, the work home overload. Sometimes I am asked, Arondell, how do you do what you do? Because I feel like I do a million and one things and plus. It's the social media and comparison, and social media has played a major factor in navigating our world, not just for us, but also for our kids. And the intergenerational expectations are a major factor where the things that we would have been able to do, and I can't believe I'm saying this as an adult now because my mother said that to me, but the things that, I would understand and the expectations I have as an adult and what I was and how I was as a child, I have to now navigate that it's not the same for my kids. Not just in the value systems that I'm instilling, but even the world that they are navigating is not the same. And I'm aging myself now, but the late 90s and early 2000s as a child and then going into my teenage years is not the same as the 2000s right now. It simply isn't. And understanding that and bridging the gap is a hard navigation because guess what? A lot of what we do as parents is pulling from our past experiences to inform. And sometimes that isn't enough because it's just not the same. And that creates a disconnect, that creates frustration. So are we good thus far? Just doing a check-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Okay. So just adding a visual aid as well, would be that's so you say mothers have it worse. And I would say any involved parent has it difficult. The statistics may show that mothers are more involved, but I want to change the narrative from mothers have it hard to involved parents have it difficult. Because I will tell you, most days I am the parent who takes my kids to school. and they want to pick them up from school. I am usually not just the one in the meetings, but sometimes as the vice president of Rosary Boys PTA present. Um, and that's I have three different schools to navigate. So whilst I understand that most times it's the mother, and that is for whatever reason, because sometimes mothers, there's difficulty in both single parent households and joint households, but that is also value systems and expectations and roles between mothers and fathers. But as a societal issue, and the boundaries that you set and the things you accept within the role of parenting, because I'm a heavily involved parent, most times I'm the one who is getting called. And that's just the type of household I have. Mind you, I come from a single parent household where it was just my mother because daddy was Houdini. I'm still waiting for him to bring back the milk. But as I said, I did not want that for my kids. So that's why I will say, yes, it's the involved parent, but based on societal norms, most times the involved parent is the mother. But it's not just mothers that have it hard. And I know you didn't say it's only mothers, but you say mothers have it the worst. I will also say with certain things, yes, but even navigating as a father, there are some stories I can tell you that make me want to scream as a dad. I have had persons assume because I'm a father, I'm incapable of being a proper parent, especially to my daughter. So just a little caveat there. No, 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 it's not, and I get that. That's why I was just sharing that perspective. So with the polyvagal, the person whose nervous system is regulated, they'll be able to be socially engaged. But you see a dysregulated individual, especially when their stress levels are high, that's where that fight or flight kicks in. The, feelings of panic, rage, fear, anger, anxiety, irritation, worry, frustration. And I'll say this, a lot of times when anger is the foremost for our stress, it's very rarely anger. Anger is usually like, let's think about the iceberg in Titanic. The peak looked small, but underneath was a heavy layer of ice, correct? That is the same with anger. Anger might just be at the peak, but most times there are other things, anxiety, shame, frustration, feelings of abandonment, feelings of neglect, feelings of insecurity. And even through that fight or flight, you see that freeze? You see when you feel so overwhelmed that you shut down? That's when your nervous system is saying, hey, homeboy, homegirl, that's it. I check out. And that's really dangerous because sometimes we dissociate or we check out in on some ways that we think we're coping, but we're not. Sometimes it might be retreating to social media. So you find yourself constantly swiping because you're so overwhelmed and so overstimulated that you just swipe. And it's so easy to be engrossed in that. Yeah? Are we good so far? I do a lot of check-ins to make sure that persons are still with me because I know it's an online platform. Are we good so far? Any questions? Any
Yep.
concerns? And you could also leave your comments in the chat. So, how parental stress affects children? Is it bad to lock yourself in the room? Um, Sometimes it's important to take a bit of you time. I would say once your kids aren't being neglected, the age of the child, um, The age of the child is important, as well as the how long. And I will ask this, and this is not for you to answer publicly, but what is causing you to reach that point where you are feeling so overwhelmed that you need to scream? Mind you, a good scream and cry, a good snotty nose is important, eh? I don't care if man or woman, mother or father, a good snotty nose is important. Because believe you me, life be lifing. Life be lifing. A good snotty nose cry is important. I tell you, that one runny where you just, you try, you swear, you eat pepper. A good snotty nose cry, a good scream, sometimes letting it out into the universe is important because it's a lot. It is a lot. Parenting is not, good parenting is not for the faint of heart. Eh-eh, eh-eh. It is not. It is not. So I would say have your good cry, have your ugly cry, have your moments. Because parenting doesn't cut off. There may be pauses, but it never stops. Um, the scream again, I would say expression is important. I see someone says sometimes you just need 5 minutes. Sometimes after 2 hours of traffic, as soon as I reach home, my boys want to tell me about their day. Sometimes I literally have to tell them to give me 10 minutes of silence. I I get that. Sometimes you don't even get to come home in traffic by yourself. Like I say, sometimes it's the kids are in the car with me. So as soon as school pick up, I don't even get sometimes you don't get that decompression from work to home because they're with me. So as soon as and at the instant, hey daddy, today, so. And I'll tell you, sometimes I do feel it there in headlights where I'm like, hi, hi there. So I get where you're coming from. Trust me, I get it. Natty, I'm only saying Natty because that's it. You see the bathroom, you think it's only mothers get it, right? You would think it's only mothers get that bathroom situation. I don't know what privacy is like. I don't know what that is. I might, if I'm lucky, I get two knocks. Daddy. And I will say this. That's because we're doing something right. When our children want to be around us, when our children want to be in our face like this, like makeup, it means we're doing something right because it suggests that we are safe enough that they want to be around us. We may not know that because we used to run from our parents, but our children are running to us. So we have to navigate that. And trust me, I'm saying this is an only child. So to parent multiple children and going from that place where I was just me, sometimes I'm like, ah, genuinely. And you would think it stops. You would think that it stops because I have a teenager. My teenage boy does not care. Sometimes I'm cycling through, hey, daddy, I just want to tell you I love you. Oh, thank you. Hug. Babs, middle boy. Daddy, I want to tell you about my day. Goes to daughter. Daddy, so. And this is not even navigating their conflict that they have. Who fighting with who? Who's quarreling with who? I am taking a bath. Daddy. I was like, oh yeah, just trying to wash my big toe. I ain't gonna get to clean it. Daddy. Yes, I could sleep with you tonight. That is what I couldn't get my 2 minutes in the bathroom for. Will you need 2 minutes in the bathroom for, Daddy? You should have take 30 seconds. So trust me. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Um, it's it's a process. It is a process. And our kids feed off our energy. Our kids feed off of. So a child-focused explanation is children read stress through our expressions, our tone, and sometimes it it's also emotionally overwhelming. Kathian, what you apologizing for? It's overwhelming. Sometimes I do a stop and freeze where I'm like, and I hold my hands up, and my kids will be like, Daddy, you overstimulated. I'll be like, yeah, I am. You all have been speaking non-stop since we've gotten home, and mind you, I'm going through, and this is no excuse. Even in my profession as a therapist, I am either lecturing or counseling. And contrary to popular belief, I talk more in lectures and speak less in therapy because it's about my client, not me. So I speak very little. So I'm listening. So I do a lot of listening. My ear's big, so I do real listening. And then I'm listening to my kids and I'm navigating. Sometimes I'll be like, guys, yo, daddy needs a moment. Daddy needs a moment. Shh, 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 shh. Let's shh. Let's hush. Daddy, let's hush. Yeah, I say hush, man. We trying to have a quiet time here. And I might joke about it. But then we have those quiet moments where we decompress, where we might just breathe. Let's just. So it is overwhelming at times. And be unapologetic about it. Our children could be very overwhelming. They are us. They are us. They are the unfiltered us. So the thing is, they read our tone sometimes if we're in a mood, if we're stressed. Do not underestimate the emotional intelligence and our children's ability to pick up on our moods. They may not be able to articulate what they're observing, but they're damn well observing it. The same way we read them is the same way they are reading us. They're reading our expressions. At time my kid was like, Daddy, I could tell you something was bothering you. I was like, how come? Because I'm interested. It's like you tone now noting my kids are a bit different because I everything I learn I teach them. Of course, age appropriate. So they might be your tone, especially when they put on the therapist's voice, Daddy, your tone was a bit flat. It it felt as if you were navigating something that you couldn't share with us. So you sounded a bit upset. You sounded angry. Your expression was a bit hard. I'm like, what in jail? Or as I mentioned, so the being overstimulated, sometimes you would withdraw or you might snap. I have my moments where I snap. I don't always have it well put together. I will be lying if I say I have it put together. I don't always have it put together. No, I don't. I am human and I will but later down I will tell you what I do to treat with that. So, may our children react? Some children might respond by they matching our energy. So, a lot of times our kids might do as I do and not as I say, which is most of our kids. And I'll tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, our children mimic our behavior. Children learn a lot through mimicry and social learning, what we give off, as opposed to what we say. Very little is learned by our children by what we say. Eh? It's a lot of what we do. So they may act out. If you're in a house where you quarreling all the time, do not be surprised if your child's language may not be at home because they're afraid you're above them. But in school is that they're always quarreling, even through play, because that is how they learn to communicate. Some children will shut down because their nervous system is so bombarded by the loud. The fact, I'm reading the chat as well. The fact that your daughter mimics you and I just want to, yeah, snatch yourself, Catty. That is a mirror. Sorry, Kellyanne. That is a mirror. That is the mirror of unfiltered truth. Congratulations. We make ourselves. I just want to do some snatching. Sometimes I just do the snatch and let go. When I snatch, I'm like, nope, this is me. This is me. Nope, 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 Arondell. This is you. This is you. This is you. No, you just need to guys, I have a joke for you. So I'm doing a lecture now, right? For parents on navigating stress. I'm in a room, the kids are outside. Y'all can see what I'm holding up now? Can you all see it?
It kind of blurry though. Is it a sheet of paper?
It's blurry
There's a
on my
sheet of
end.
paper. I'll bring it a little closer to the camera. Y'all can see it?
Yeah,
I
it's a
can.
drawing. It's a drawing of someone, or he draw you.
Yes, it's
So
a
there's a joy.
It's a stick man.
There's a stick
Yay!
man with a heart.
Oh, that's so sweet.
This is my daughter because she's drawing her. I told them I'm in a lecture. This is parenting, ladies and gentlemen. This is parenting in action. This is because they don't want to open the door, sliding it under the door for me to get. So I can see that she loves me with her heart and her drawing. This is what parenting looks like. Thank you, baby. You continue to send me them. I'll see you all in a bit. I love you too. Daddy is in a lecture. You'll get a kiss after. I love you. Yes. This is parenting. Because you could be whatever, you are still mommy and daddy. You could be doctor this, minister that, you're still daddy and mommy. And it just is. Sometimes our kids withdraw. Sometimes our kids may have difficulty in school. Sometimes our children will have changes in their appetite. That is just what we might see from our kids. And sometimes, in a protective way, is to understand that the issue isn't stress. It's stress management. Most times, it's not the stress in itself that frustrates us, It's our inability to manage. And it's how we repair. I don't try to be a perfectionist. Sometimes I make my kids get a buff and I might recognize, oh, Arondell, it really wasn't them, but it was how you were navigating a situation. And in navigating that, I have to recognize, I'd be like, hey, kids, you know what? Y'all didn't deserve the way that I spoke to you. I am sorry. I am sorry for that was a bit upset, and I think I transferred what I was treating with, and it came out in how I spoke to you, in how I addressed you in this situation. And I am sorry. I am sorry for how it might have made you feel. And I might ask, how did it make you feel? Did you feel ashamed? Did you feel, What did it make you feel and navigate that? Because I know my mom had a lot to deal with growing up. And there was a point in time where I never got, I'm sorry. I get a good curtail, and half the time it wasn't my fault. Mommy was a single parent, a young single parent. Mommy had me really young. And she was navigating young motherhood as a single parent. My father wouldn't even buy so much as a toothbrush for me. Or when he finally buy the school shoes, it's 2 years late from when he measure my foot. Because I might have been wearing size 7 when he measure my foot and then come back 2 years later with the size 7, thinking it's size 7. But no, I grow into a size 10 now. And mom had to navigate that. And she tried the best that she could with the resources that she had. And the thing is, my mother is my biggest supporter, even now. And we still had to work through those things. So I know the value of hearing I'm sorry. And I hope that in my humility, I teach my kids that if daddy isn't too big to say, I am sorry, if daddy could come down to me and recognize that he doesn't always get it right, I can feel safe to admit when I am wrong. Or I can feel safe enough to say, I did something wrong. Or daddy, I want to talk to you about something. I did this. I know you might be disappointed. I will tell you all this. A moment in my parenting that I felt proud of, even in managing stress, was when my son said, Dad, I was worried that you'll be disappointed with me. Not angry, but disappointed. Because I know how much that you do. And I didn't want to disappoint you. So he wasn't worried about anger or rage. But he was concerned that he wouldn't meet the standard that I had set. And we navigated that. But that's the thing. So it's repair over perfection because we're going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. Sorry, I'm receiving more. So, are we good with this section, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm also
Yes,
looking at the
I
chat.
am.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hope it's making sense. And it's resonating with you all. Yes, some of us, and Daniela, some of us did have to move on without getting an apology. But there are some of us who still navigating those unhealed scars. That even if you go home by your mother or your father, even though you and your mother and father are good, some things that your parents do, some things that your parents do, even now, you might still pull back or cringe, even as an adult. And you're trying to ask yourself, why I just react like that when mommy or daddy get on so? Why even as a big man or a big woman, why I still react this way and I beg? It's because that child in you who still hasn't navigated that hurt, who still hasn't healed from that place, is still resonating. And you still haven't worked through that. So those are still those things. Yep, that childhood trauma. So something to note. So we might say that, well, we get over it because we had to do something. But when it's unaddressed, sometimes we still haven't healed from it, and as adults, we still functioning from that place. We are still functioning from that unhealed place. So I want us to take note of that. But I'll give this caveat. Sometimes we can't even speak to our parents because sometimes we're doing well and our parents will say, but look how nice you turn out. Not noting that we is not because of what they did for us, but sometimes the things we had to do for ourselves to heal but they're still taking the credit as parents. So, yep, we try not to repeat them with our kids. But we also would want to not do the extreme because there might be value and merit in some of the values that we received as kids growing up. How do you heal from that as an adult? Sorry, I'm I'm responding to Shakil. I'm looking at Shakil's comment. Look how nice you turn out here. And that one loud. Yeah, boy, Shakil. Well, look how nice you turn out. Look at you. You looks never kill you. Sometimes parents just say some unfiltered things, huh? I just had to watch yourself, but usually my mother and father, boy. Because they lack of emotional intelligence sometimes. And this is going back to Natty's question of how do you heal from that as an adult? I'll be honest. I became a parent very young, and there are some things I didn't work through. And I was very angry. I had a lot of anger. The world could have burned. I was just real hungry. As a young man, just hungry. And it did a lot of harm in my family. And it took a lot of, and mind you, this is before doing bachelor's and doing my master's, but it took a lot of recognizing that I had to do the work. I had to do the work. I had to do the work. Looking at my son and seeing me in him and seeing, is this what I want? Is this what I want for my family? Is this what I want for my kids? Still not feeling whole after feeling all that anger and just the frustration of not knowing. So a lot of work had to go into, and I sought therapy. And I will tell you this, therapy helps a lot. I mean, I'm doing it as a profession. So I'm putting in that plug. A lot of work is done to heal because the more I heal as a person, I was able to better parent because I was functioning from a healed place. And it helped me to know the things I needed to forgive and move on with, the things that helped me set my boundaries. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of facing a lot of uncomfortable truths. It's a lot of work. A lot of work. It's a lot of uncomfortable. It is being faced with things you don't want to feel because yes, you're still working through things in your childhood, but you still made choices as an adult that you still have to be held accountable for, that you still have to work through because you still chose that life. And you are now working through the consequences of your adulthood, even though it might be part and parcel of what you went through and the disadvantages you might have in childhood. It is so not cookie cutter. It is really not cookie cut. But it's still your responsibility and my responsibility as an adult to fix our stuff because we now have children. We don't get to have the excuse, well, I didn't get that as a child or I didn't work through that because they didn't ask for it. And we have that responsibility for them because we don't just hand over house and land. We don't just give them a deed. We don't just give them a car. We give them our experiences. And what we don't want to give them is our trauma. Because now they have to work through that. And we are now accountable for it. We didn't ask for it. But we got it. But we can't now use that as an excuse to give that as their inheritance. At least let them inherit a healed or healing parent. At least let them inherit that. The value of a whole parent is more important than riches. Trust me. So, practical stress management tools. Sorry, I dropped my headphones. So, some practical stress management tools. In the short term, some quick things you can do. Taking a breath. Do not underestimate the power of taking a breath, of pausing for a minute. It allows your brain to catch up with your emotions that might be running away from you. It's important to name your feelings as well. I am angry. I believe I am angry because I feel as if I am overwhelmed. I think I am overstimulated. I feel as if I'm stressed. I feel as if I'm not getting supported. I feel as if I'm being taken for granted. I feel as if the resources you are using, you are wasting it. It's important to name it. Loud does not mean being more right. If you are shouting, you are not being heard. They hear your anger, but they do not hear your words. And sometimes you might be shouting, you're speaking rapidly. So sometimes it's lowering your voice. If you take that breath, it's because you're giving yourself. Because you might start off, I'm fed up. Ooh, ooh. Kids, kids. I feel as if I have been speaking a lot about how you you use the things home. And I recognize I am becoming angry. I recognize I am becoming angry with the fact that I am speaking a lot about the groceries aren't cheap. You'll eat a half pack of this and just rest it there. I am not trying to guilt you by telling you the sacrifices, but look at the grocery bill. Look at the things on this list. How much of those things are for you all? I don't eat the snacks you all eat. But when you just eat pizza and just throw it down like that, it makes me feel as if you do not appreciate what it is I do for you. And it's a bit hard because I am happy to provide, but then look at what you're doing with the things I give to you. And I felt like I've been talking about this. Can you pack up your snacks? Can you not leave the snacks halfway? If you don't want, or could you put it away? And I feel like I'm talking over and over and over about the same thing, and it's frustrating. I feel like if you're not hearing my voice, and I'm now finding myself shouting, and I don't want to shout, it's exhausting. What can I do for you to understand? Tell me. If you were in my shoes, the little allowance, if you had to spend it on somebody and not on yourself, and you're not, and they were wasting it, how would you feel? Tell me. Now, of course, the different ages would determine the type of conversation and rapport, and trust me, rapport building. My 8-year-old is all of them are well articulated for their age, but it's because I does real talk. And I would say that sometimes it's really frustrating. Those children don't really know how to get on their skin. And you have to know your kids as well. So daily stress reduction sometimes is trying to find that 10 minutes on non-parenting. Sometimes when you just, I tell you, 10 minutes hard to find. Sometimes the bath had to be a little extra long. Um, Noting that once you create a routine, your brain goes on autopilot, so you don't have to do much thinking when it's a routine. You know, you do this at this time, this at this time. Your body naturally gets into that rhythm. Setting boundaries. I am not going to lie. One of the biggest things I come to appreciate is when I set boundaries for my kids. What I do for work, work is work. And even with the time I give to friends and family. Setting boundaries are important, even with my kids. Sometimes we think my kids have chores, my kids have age appropriate things that they must learn. Like I tell my kids, if I'm in the kitchen cooking, you're with me. Um, so an example, if I'm in the kitchen, be in the kitchen with me. My mother I didn't learn how to cook properly until I was an adult. Why? Because mommy used to run me out of the kitchen, get out of my foot. And I hated being in the kitchen because it was not a place that I was invited. I had to work through that. My kids, come, I'm cooking, I'm making this, I'm making that. And I'll say the other day I was sick with this virus that was passing through, and my son cooked. He cooks for everybody. And this is the thing. Once I learn something new, I pass it on to them. Even if I'm washing and doing chores, they contribute, even if it's sorting your clothes. Um, Simple things like, so those are simple things, keeping them involved. And then I could be like, okay, while I'm cooking, you sorting clothes. Or if I'm sorting clothes, okay, you can do the prep before I cook. And we make it an activity. Sometimes we're watching a video. Sometime I was doing spaghetti and meatballs, so like a kind of pasta and stuff. I put on some Italian music. I was having a glass of wine. The kids, I opened, cracked some shandy for them. Everybody had a little glass. And that was the activity. And they were enjoying that. So in socializing as well is important, setting boundaries, setting healthy standards. So my kids don't feel burdened like I'm palming off parenting on them. But it also helps when I can relinquish responsibility. I don't need to fold your clothes for you. I don't need to sort your clothes. And like I tell them, when you do your part, I have more time for you. And they see it. So something that would take an hour, took half an hour. Okay, the next half an hour, we playing some game. Or we taking a nap together. Something. So then there's looking at social support, having safety in others. Sometimes it's knowing how to the stress smart parenting strategy. You respond as opposed to react. Reactions are automatic, responses are thought out. Disciplining when calm. Knowing that is this, are you speaking to your child for them to learn and understand the consequences of their action or to just get your emotional expression out? And who is benefiting from this interaction? Them or you or nobody? Using connection before correction. Because at the end of the day, what do we want our children to learn from the experience? That use the parent, use the adult here, or that they did something wrong and it needs to be fixed. And apologizing to children helps them to regulate. So managing, just give me 1 sec, please. Yes, guys. So just wrapping up, um, so it's recognizing that there are some challenges that we may all face just trying to do homework. We have kids that may have challenges with learning disrespect and the talking back and learning how to navigate that, noting that our kids match and mirror our behavior. Then there's things like morning and bedtime chaos. Usually, I will say for me, morning times are a bit harder because I'm naturally not a morning person. So mornings are usually difficult. I'm being very honest. So I usually have to steal my resolve quite early. Simple things, pausing yourself, taking a pause, taking a pause. Pausing might save you. Pausing for 30 seconds might save you hours, days, and years of things you need to fix. You can validate emotions and not validate behavior. I understand that you were angry with how I spoke to you, or you didn't appreciate that I had this punishment. But you see that sweeps or that walk off, or you slamming that door, that was behavior that was inappropriate, and that is what I will not accept. We do not slam doors at each other. Worse yet, you do not slam a door at me. I could understand you are a human being, you're a person. And I could understand you being upset. But what I will not accept is your behavior. Setting limits clearly. I recognize that I will hear there are times when I will allow you to express how you feel, but there are some moments, as your parent, do you trust me? Have I not been supporting and taking care of you? So even if you feel strongly about it, can you also be mindful that you recognize that I do everything in my endeavor to protect you, and it's always in your best interest? So if I tell you not now, could you respect that? Could you respect me as your parent and know that I am still doing it in your best interest? And then follow through as calmly as possible. We are still you. When stress becomes too much, you see when you're constantly irritable and you're feeling agitated, and everything they say makes you want to scream or send them through a window, it might mean that um we are we need some additional support because we're not navigating as healthily as we can. And that is impacting our tolerance level. So our tolerance level might be low. And that is a danger, a constant irritation. It means that we aren't able to navigate their big feelings. Emotional numbness, it might mean that we're disconnected. So we find ourselves the quarreling or the fighting, or they're trying to get access to us. We have on headphones in the kitchen. We don't want to hear them. We don't want to deal with them. It may be sleep problems. It might be the fact that we're having issues sleeping, resting. Sometimes it's
Hi.
feeling that you're failing.
I trying something. I'm checking out all the areas. Take care.
Hi, someone's mic is unmuted. Please be mindful. So it might mean that we're feeling that we're failing. And what we don't want as parents is to feel that foreboding that we're failing our kids. And sometimes when it becomes a lot, we can feel like that. sometimes situations in our personal lives spill over. So it's important to recognize that getting support is not a sign of weakness. And as I mentioned, parenting is not, there isn't a manual. So these conversations are important. These shared experiences are important because sometimes we feel so isolated. Sometimes we feel like, am I the only one experiencing this? This is why these platforms are important. This is why these forums are important. So that as parents, we can come to voice. We can come to share. Sometimes a parent might say, sometimes I feel like strangling my kids. Does that make me a bad parent? No, it doesn't make you a bad parent. Did you strangle a child? No, you just felt like it. Why? Because it's a lot. Because sometimes the damn sickening. Yes, our children are sickening at times. Oops, the therapist just said that. Yeah, I just did. I'm a dad. I said it. Sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it's talking out our heads, and sometimes it's things that we don't care to hear. That if it was anybody else, you lock them off one time and like blah 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 blah. But no, it's your child and they're interested in it and you want to support them because you wish your mommy or daddy did support you through that too. Yes, Leslie, and I see your hand.
What I come to understand is that okay, so I have 6 kids, right? And the first
Mm-hmm.
two of my 6 they got more of a militant part of me. And that is a behavior that I would have got from my mother and my father's siblings, growing up among them. And the
Right.
last 4 got more or less well, the two after that too, they kind of get it balanced, and the last two, which is the twin, get the better part of me because I come to understand the different behaviors and the different attitude. But what I come in to realize now is that knowing, as someone who just realized, okay, why am I behaving like this, Leslie, and why are you feeling like this, Leslie? And I start to question certain things, I started to research certain things, and I started
Mm-hmm.
check my body, and I realized I started to go through perimenopause. And because I'm going through
Mm-hmm.
perimenopause, my tolerance level is not as it should, and so certain things will irritate me. So I have to be mindful in my correction as well as curbing or navigating how to speak the way you just spoke, so that because the children in this era is not the children I had in the first 2 eras, so they are more vocal. I don't want to do the right thing, do the wrong thing, or do the right thing in a wrong way, that kind of way. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot happening with the chemistry of the body and at the same time disciplining. Yeah, I don't know if you
Oh,
feel
I
well.
hear you. No, 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 I get you, and thank you for
Yeah.
so much for being willing to share that. It is a lot. It is a lot. Yes, it is bad to jump kick them, Natty. That is abuse. You cannot jump kick your child. But you can allow yourself the mental escape to hit them one jump kick in your head. I will allow one mental jump kick and two backhand. I will allow it mentally. But no, you cannot jump kick the poor child or poor children. So that is the thing. Sometimes it's you working through your own thing with your bodies. I that I hear you with them 3 boys. Like I said, 2 boys and a girl. Right now they must be killing themselves outside because I hear quarreling going on. But I teach in a class, I just went and check in. Parenting don't stop. Parenting don't stop. So some things that I will challenge you with for self-care, because self-care is important. You are still important as a person. Set goals for yourself. Drink some water. Find forgiveness for yourself and for others. Take a breath. Rest. It's so important. Laugh. Sometimes I just laugh at myself and my children will laugh at me too. Eat something. I don't care what it is. Eat something nice. Take time to meditate. Take time to sweat. Exercise is important. Socialize. Find adventure in life. Find a favorite something. I don't care. Once it is safe and healthy. Be inspired by something. Find a hobby. Cook. Burn the water if you have to. Release. Whatever release is for you. Go on the beach. Go in the water and scream. Do some yoga, stretch. I remember taking a yoga class with one of my fellow therapists. She's a yoga instructor. That was pressure. I thought I was just going to stretch and be a pretzel. The amount of physical, I said, where is this? Watch a movie. Find movements in your life. Stretch. Find coziness. Find love of something. Listen to music. Journal. Write. Find sweetness in life. Find solitude. Find expression. Pamper yourself. And sometimes touch some grass. I am a child of the sea, so I need to sometimes touch sand and touch the ocean to regulate me. I am a child of the ocean. When I feel heavily dysregulated, I must find the sea. The ocean will call to me. Some people like to hike. Some people like the bush. I like blue. You like green. Great for you. Great for you. I still do the hikes. I will still do a hike, but I do love the ocean. I actually want to get back into kayaking. The sea is where I find my center. That ocean, it just allows me to lose myself in the moment of self. And sometimes we are so afraid to be alone. But being alone does not mean being lonely. It does not mean being lonely. Yes, Jolene. Jolene, you had your hand up? Okay. Hello? Are you hearing me still?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
I saw Jolene's hand was up. So there was a question that, okay, so also is there any advice for neurodivergent kids? It's really important to once you get the assessment, do your research on, because I do work with, and I'm also doing further training. So outside of being a psychologist, I'm also an internationally credentialed Sandtray therapist. Now, Sandtray therapy is a form of play therapy that I use to work with kids. My youngest client is like 4 years of age. So I do work with children. And something that I do is work with their parents hand in hand. There has to be cohesion. A major aspect of that navigating neurodivergence is understanding that your child will never be like another child. And not making comparison is the first step, and communicate in the way that they need, not in the way you think they should. They should understand you. And mind you, that also goes for kids in general. It's important to communicate in a way they will understand. It's really important. And worse yet with neurodiversity. Kids with ADHD, kids with autism. So there's that. So I know we're a bit over time, and I do thank you for staying on. So that's it, guys. Any question?